Alright, no time to waste. Let's get down to the game. This features my NBN deck against his noise deck. I missed out the first turn where I installed my cards. It's basically install one ice on each of my two centrals and mental health clinic in the remote. He starts off with pure economy, show gamble, KT Jones, hit KT, and he wonders what to do for his last action. Yes, this is not a very aggressive noise. I think here's the mistake. If you want to play these three cards, Show Gamble, KT Jones, and Hit KT, you should run on your second click after playing the Show Gamble. If that turns out to be a snare or anything funny out of the ordinary, at least you can prepare yourself for it. At least you can clear the tag, for example, if it's a snare. Otherwise, I can just blow up your KT Jones and you have wasted a lot of tempo. So, I mean, it's a rather bad habit that I have myself sometimes with regards to drawing cards. You should always draw your cards early on the turn rather than drawing as your last click. Similarly here, you should run early on in the turn if you can, as opposed to running last click. But that's very minor. For now, we move on. He sees the mental health clinic and trashes it. And I'm very happy he does that because that means he ends up with much fewer credits. So I take this window of opportunity to get my Jackson on the board. Noise is very anti-Jackson. So I need to take advantage of any opportunity I can where Noise doesn't want to trash Jackson. So in that case, I can draw as many cards as I can with Jackson, which is always great because I'm looking for... Well, actually, I'm not looking for anything anymore. This game, I have very good draw luck. I have no agendas in hand, and I have my combo ready to go. Mid-season psychographics. I just need economy. So I guess I'm power drawing for my economy. More asset cards and more hedge funds and sweet speaks. Meanwhile, I install a pop-up window over R&D. Initially, I thought of installing it over HQ because I was worried about Siphon. You never know if they run Siphon or not. So, but I decided that Keyhole was a bigger threat, along with Medium. So that goes on R&D. And it is more likely anyway that he hits R&D more frequently than he does HQ. With HQ, he's just going to Siphon once or twice. But with R&D, I can see him accessing multiple times. Alright, he installs a data sucker. I think he should have ran Archives here to check whether the card he just milled was an agenda. If it is, he would force the Jackson use from me. If it isn't, at least he gains the data sucker token, which is so important against the 4-strength ice. You really want to load up your data sucker with 1 sucker token, while the centrals are still wide open. Because now he's actually giving me a chance to react by icing up one of my by icing up Archives. And so I promptly do so. Or not. No, I decided not to. I was fine with him getting data sucker tokens because he didn't have any breakers out yet. And right now running Archives is still rather inequitable. Instead, I choose to ice up HQ because I was still afraid of Siphon. So now I'm on a good credit level with hedge fund in my hand, so I'm looking great. Meanwhile, he continues hitting KT. I'm really tempted to throw a breaking news on him, but I don't have any. So he's definitely building up pretty strong. If I know for sure that if I get to the late game against him, I'm going to lose flat out, whether through agenda milling or through his Anarch breaker suite. In both cases, he's going to get through very easily, and the strongest ice in my suite are the toe boosts, which die to Parasite rather easily if I'm not careful. Alright, he clicks for credits here. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I guess he really needs the money for some reason. So he allows me to get my Jackson off again, and I get to see lots of cards, including the much needed toe booth. That's the problem with running NBN. You are rather ice light, so you need to draw a lot of cards before you see enough ice to secure the servers. But thankfully, he has been horribly passive this entire game. So he didn't force any credit usage from me. So I'm still at 7 credits. Had he ran a couple of times through my servers, I wouldn't have so many credits to spend. So that is something very important to take note of. And now I have the toe booth on my remote. I'm ready to score the bill or whatever agenda comes my way, or to throw the sand in there. In any case, it's a win-win. It's a win situation for me. And most likely that server will be very secure because he's probably running the Anarch breaker suite. The only thing I'm worried about is a knight. which can break through Tollbooth for 5 credits. And his KT is pretty loaded, so he surely can pull that on me. That's the only thing I'm worried about right now. So I'll just wait and see what he does. He still continues being a very, very passive player, which is something you shouldn't be doing. Whether as Noise or especially as Noise, because especially as Anarchs, you need to take advantage of the early game. Shapers at least have good reason to build up their economy and break. But with Anarchs, you really need to take advantage of every opportunity the cop gives you. Anyway, enough of my ranting. It makes me sound like I'm sounding like I'm overly critical of his gameplay, which I shouldn't be. Sorry about that. Anyway, I get my hedge fund out and I debated so hard. Install View or install AstroScript or install Sansan. All three are equally viable options. I was so worried about that night, so I couldn't bring myself to install Agenda's Naked there. Inside Job is also possible, although I'm putting him on Siphon. I mean, that's my default assumption that every Anarch deck runs Siphon. So I put the Sansan there instead. I can score it next turn anyway. I can't score if he runs there though, but I'm hoping I don't have to rest at Tollbooth. Alright, so he mass installs a Nerf Agent and a York. So I think we can see where he's going to run. He's going to run HQ. So do you think he should have ran HQ? He's about to. Is this a smart move? He does not have a Sentry Breaker out. He is very vulnerable to a lot of nasty ice. I first show him the Caduceus, and meanwhile, think about this. What is the worst case scenario that he can run to right now? What is the worst piece of ice that he can run to right now? I mean, he hasn't seen any of my influence yet aside from the single mental health clinic. So, you know, there could be lots of nasty ice around. What do you think is the worst piece of ice that he could encounter right now, given his current board state? A Grim would be pretty bad, and Ichi would be hell. It would set him back so far into the Stone Age. I can't even begin to describe how bad that is. And yes, the Ichi trace would be horrible to boot, but no, I have something worse for him. A Shinobi that ends the game. Yep. Just like that, I win the game because he spent almost all of his credits breaking through that Caduceus trace. And he gave me the 3 credits with Caduceus. This allowed me to pull off a successful Shinobi with enough credits left to, with more than enough credits left. And the worst thing is that he started turn with only 3 cards in hand. So I only needed to get 2 of the 3 traces off in order to successfully flatline him. But even in that case, if he had 5 cards in hand, he still would have flatlined in any case because, yeah, he was just too poor. He started the run with 6 credits and finished Caduceus with only 2. So that was a very short game. It just goes to show how dangerous running can be without a Sentry Breaker. As I've mentioned in my Shinobi video, it is definitely a game-changing card because now you can simply lose the game outright if you're not running with enough credits to your name and 5 cards or less in your hand. And that's exactly what happened in this game. It really sucks. It really feels very horrible. I mean, you feel down in the dumps losing like that. Such a cheap way to lose, right? No one expects a Shinobi in an NBN deck, but that's precisely why I run it. It's by no means a good 3-off card because there are many ways to counter Shinobi, like having Link. That is a very good counter in itself. So Shinobi is pretty much only a 1-off, or maybe 2, even in Jinteki decks. But it's so effective because most runners don't even think of the possibility of the Shinobi being there when they run. And even if they do, I mean, you have to ask yourself, what are the chances of the court packing a single Shinobi, you know? No one runs it, so having to prepare for that will set you back so greatly that most of the time it's just not worth preparing for the Shinobi encounter. Although that being said, it really takes a huge credit differential for a Shinobi to be effective. So, yeah. At the end of the day, Shinobi is actually doing work in my deck, and it really is justifying its 3 influence. I flatlined with it twice thus far, both of them against Anarchs, very poor Anarchs, who start the run with very few credits to the name. So thanks for watching, and happy net running, but watch the Shinobi on your way out.